What would happen if a modern Marine platoon time-traveled to the Roman Empire? If a modern Marine platoon somehow time-traveled back to the height of the Roman Empire and had to fight a full Roman legion, would they win? Or would they be completely overwhelmed? I've thought through this battle in two main scenarios, and what I found is more surprising than you'd expect. Scenario 1. Shock and awe. Let's start with the most likely outcome. History gives us clues about what happens when advanced militaries face much less advanced ones. Take the Battle of Cajamarca. Francisco Pizarro and just 168 Spanish conquistadors managed to capture the Incan emperor and defeat 8,000 warriors, all without losing a single man. Why? The Incas had never seen horses, steel armor, or firearms before. The psychological shock of guns and explosions caused total chaos. That tactic is known today as shock and awe, a strategy of overwhelming force designed to break the enemy's will to fight right from the start. The Roman legionaries, disciplined as they were, would likely react the same way. Hearing the crack of rifles and seeing explosions for the first time would be terrifying. They might scatter in panic or surrender without a fight. But let's be honest. That's too easy. It's interesting, but not fun. So let's imagine scenario 2. The Romans don't freak out. They somehow resist the terror of modern weapons and fight with full discipline. Scenario 2. What if the Romans stand their ground? Let's break it down. A modern U.S. Marine platoon has 43 soldiers, typically equipped with M4 carbines, EM-27 infantry automatic rifles, M320 grenade launchers, M67 fragmentation grenades, 3 EM-240B, medium machine guns. They also carry body armor, radios, night vision goggles, and potentially tear gas canisters. On the Roman side, we're talking about 5,000 legionaries, armed with gladius swords, pila, throwing spears, pugio daggers, large shields, and segmented armor. Roman armor was excellent for its time, great against arrows and melee attacks, but absolutely useless against bullets. It's important to note, Roman legions weren't just strong because of gear, they were built on discipline, organization, and logistics. These weren't random mobs, they were professional, trained, and terrifying in close quarters. The logistics game. Now here's where things get interesting. Marines are elite, but they're built for short missions. They carry only a few days' worth of food. If they can't resupply, they're in trouble fast. Romans? They brought supply trains. Oxen, carts, grain, dried meat, wine. They could last weeks on the move, and they could tap into local towns for more. So the longer this conflict goes, the worse it gets for the Marines. Sure, they could raid Roman villages, but that's risky. Urban terrain limits visibility and removes their long-range advantage. Buildings, alleys, tight corners, these are places gladies shine and guns don't. Plus, every Marine life is precious. You lose 5 Marines in a raid, and that's 10% of your entire force. Meanwhile, the Romans could lose hundreds and barely blink. Even worse, the longer the battle drags out, the more likely the Marines are to fall into exhaustion, illness, or even simple accidents, things modern troops rarely worry about thanks to support infrastructure. Night vision, the hidden superpower. But Marines have a trick the Romans could never counter: night ops. With night vision goggles, they can see perfectly in the dark. They could ambush Roman patrols, raid supplies, or eliminate key leaders, all while the Romans are basically blind. Even if the Romans try to guard against this, torches only go so far. Any light source instantly makes them targets. Night raids could help the Marines restock food, sabotage logistics, or even just keep the Romans constantly on edge, denying them rest and morale. Battle tactics. Choosing the battlefield. If it came to an open battle, terrain would matter most. The Marines would need a flat, open plain with one defensible side, maybe a rocky outcrop or tree line at their back. They'd use bounding overwatch tactics, part of the unit covers, while the rest moves leapfrogging forward. It's how modern militaries stay mobile while under fire. The Romans, in contrast, would be forced to charge. Their classic phalanx or testudo formations wouldn't work against automatic weapons. Too slow, too bunched up. If they tried a wide formation like a 5 line spread across 2 kilometers, they'd lose cohesion. Communication would break down. Marines could focus fire on one section at a time and reposition constantly. Romans might attempt a pincer movement, but without radios or aerial recon synchronizing movements over miles of open land would be almost impossible. The M240B, the ultimate equalizer. The biggest game changer, the M240B. Medium machine guns, these beasts fire almost 950 rounds per minute. A Roman charge would turn into a meat grinder fast. Even if Romans tried to throw their pila or use human wave tactics, they'd be shredded before they got close. That said, ammo is limited. Each Marine would need to kill over 100 Romans, and that's assuming perfect accuracy. Marines often carry more than standard ammo, but it still runs out eventually. Every bullet counts. Tear gas horses and wildcards. Tear gas is another hidden weapon. Romans had zero defense against it. One well-placed canister could neutralize hundreds instantly. Roman cavalry. Not much help either. Horses are big, visible, and easy targets. And gunfire would freak them out, sending them running. The Romans' best tactic would be a sacrificial charge, sending expendable troops to absorb fire while better-trained ones sneak in closer. That could be effective, but only if the Marines let them get that far. And here's a curveball. What if the Romans captured a Marine? They'd likely dissect their gear test weapons and adapt fast. Ancient Rome was extremely resourceful, and if they had time to analyze even a fraction of modern tech, they might shift strategy in ways the Marines couldn't predict. Could the Romans actually win? If the Romans adapted, spread out, avoided night attacks, stretched the conflict into weeks, they might outlast the Marines. The Marines need a quick, decisive victory, or their advantages become liabilities. Even psychological warfare could come into play. The Romans were experts in diplomacy, deception, and fear. If they convinced local tribes to join them or trap the Marines in a propaganda war, it could shift the balance. Time travel paradox. Just for fun. And here's a weird twist. What if one of the Marines is a descendant of someone in that legion? Killing the wrong Roman could erase them from existence. Would they even take the shot? But hey, that's a whole other video. Final verdict. So would the Marines win? Yes, if it's quick, clean, and controlled. But if they get stuck in a long grind, or if the Romans play smart, it could be one of the strangest, bloodiest stalemates in alternate history. And that's the real answer. Technology wins battles, but logistics wins wars.